You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
You know, I wish we could find some way to hold people accountable. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war.
To make sure the economy doesn't collapse, I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Common Sense Radio with A.J. Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
How we doing, folks? Welcome to the program. A.J. Davis on the Lanterns Media Network. Got a full show planned ahead. I'm going to cover the news of the week from my perspective. Also, we got healthcare and those dirty Republicans. Well, the Democrats and Republicans that are the same. We also have my perspective on the transgender tweet from Donald Trump from a military vet and so much more on Common Sense Radio with A.J. Davis. So let's get to the news of the week, folks. The first story I want to cover is the Charlie Gard. How heartbreaking. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. We were praying that it wouldn't. Thank you, socialized medicine. And I have a great story later on in segment 2 about a friend of mine whose family member passed away due to the failure of socialized medicine. And he had a calling from God that was telling him, get your mom down here. Get your mom out of Canada and get her to the United States. It's truly a heartbreaking story because I was talking with him this past week about it, and he was almost in tears. It's absolutely devastating. And it was devastating to everybody following the Charlie Gard story. I mean, you have the government of the United Kingdom dictating the life or death of a child. I mean, why couldn't that child come over earlier to the United States and experiment? Because it's about money. If you listen to Glenn Beck's program, he was talking about how this past week that they were $3.6 billion, I believe it was, over budget. So that's called death panels and rationing of health care. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened, and it's just horrible. That's why you need more freedom. You need more freedom. And I'm going to dig deep into that segment 2 about the Democrats and the Republicans because they're all on the same team. How about our chief of staff getting fired Friday evening, late afternoon news dump so the media isn't just hammering it all week? It'll be a big story on Monday. I bet you there'll be 10, 15 minutes of news coverage just because President Trump will probably tweet something else out that will get all the progressives all up in arms. But honestly, I really like President Trump's pick of General John Kelly. From day one, whenever he picked Priebus, I was completely against it. I hated it then. I hated it now. I mean, you're going out on the road campaigning and saying hashtag drain the swamp. Well, I understand politically why he chose him, but as an American, I hated it because he is the head of the swamp. And I think he did a horrible job. I think that's part of the reason why he was out so early. He wanted to play politics as normal, and I don't think Donald Trump really wants to. And with General John Kelly in that position now, I think you will see a lot. You won't see as many leaks because he's going to run it tight like the Pentagon, like the military. He is not someone you're just going to be able to walk all over. Priebus was somebody that is a deal maker. He's the head of the swamp, and that's all he was. So I got a couple more stories, and they're all going to be sports. And I couldn't pass them up just because everyone's talking about this tweet, that healthcare vote. Well, there's a couple other things that people just aren't paying attention to that you need to hear about. And anytime I can beat up the Dallas Cowboys, I am jumping on that. And right now is a time that I can destroy the Dallas Cowboys. For what in the world were you thinking? Within the last month, a couple weeks actually, it was a guy went into a Wawa in Northern Virginia, Prince William County, and shoplifted. The police got a hold of him. This guy identified as Lucky Whitehead, who was a football player for the Dallas Cowboys. Well, the next day, he has an arrest warrant because he didn't show up to court while he's living in Dallas, Texas, but he has an arrest warrant because he supposedly, Lucky, shoplifted in Northern Virginia. Okay. A guy that makes about $600,000 a year, and I wouldn't put it past him. I really wouldn't. He is shoplifting at a Wawa's. I know most of those NFL players end up broke after they get out. But this guy's, year 2, year 3. He's made approximately, the research I did was about $1.5 million in his life. And the couple years he's been in the NFL. Common sense tells you that there's no way he was at a Wawa's shoplifting. Just instantly, I said, no. Why would you be at a Wawa's? Because Wawa's, for you that are not familiar with them, they're a gas station that sells food. Like, I guess, I don't know if anywhere outside Virginia, I know they don't have them on the West Coast, so currently I'm in Oregon. It's kind of like a Sheetz, because that's big on the East Coast. But the Dallas Cowboys coach is quoted as saying, in evaluating the particular situation and the context of that situation, we felt like we made a decision in regards to Lucky that was right for our team, end quote. The very next week or day, once this incident was investigated more, the Prince William County Police Department issued a statement of deep condolences to Mr. Whitehead and his family because they mistakenly identified Lucky Whitehead because the assailant identified as him. Well, you know what? I want to identify as a rich NFL player. Will that get me out of trouble? Will that get me, a brand new 65-inch TV? My goodness. I mean, before any of the facts were out, the Dallas Cowboys were moving on from him. And I understand he might have had some other issues, but there was no facts that he was the one at Wawa. He had a plane ticket that said he was still in Dallas at that time. I mean, Dallas, Texas to Northern Virginia isn't a hop, jump, and a skip away. On a flight it might be. But he can't just drive there overnight. He cannot. So I just find it, to me, disgusting that the Cowboys cut this young 20-something-year-old kid before any of the facts were out. I mean, you have nothing. You have hearsay, he say, she say, and he has an arrest warrant for, he seemed like he was blindsided. And sometimes whenever people get arrest warrants, they probably act like that. But this guy, from all the interviews, was just dumbfounded. So the Cowboys release him, and then he gets signed by the New York Jets. I mean, how unlucky can you be? Going from the most unlucky situation that, you're losing your guaranteed $600,000 a year job, and then you get signed by the New York Jets, which is the worst team in the NFL. You couldn't make this stuff up. You really could not. Oh, another thing. His dog got stolen by his ex-girlfriend and sold to SoundCloud rappers who held his dog for ransom. I mean, this is unfortunately one of the most unlucky people in the United States. I mean, that situation, and then he gets let go of the Cowboys, and then signed by the Jets. Oh, gosh. Or he could be like Colin Kaepernick, who still has not been signed by any NFL team at all. And people are protesting. They are just mad. Why is Colin Kaepernick not being signed? Well, maybe it's because what he said not too long ago, you know. I mean, how old were you back a year ago? My memory, I just can't remember, you know. But he's quoted, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color," end quote. Kaepernick told the NFL media in an exclusive interview. You're right, Colin. You are so oppressed with your millions upon millions of dollars that you have received for those awful, awful people in control of the NFL. But you want to get back into it. You desperately want that paycheck. And the Baltimore Ravens quarterback is out, what they're saying right now, 3 to 6 weeks, and you are... It's funny. It's funny because now that he's out, you are getting some leaks out to the media that you will not demonstrate or protest the national anthem at all this entire NFL season. Well, hell yeah, you're going to say that because you're not getting picked up by anyone. You're not a good quarterback. You're not. And if anyone was going to sign you, it would have been the Baltimore Ravens, because the Baltimore Ravens coach is brothers with John Harbaugh, who was your quarterback in San Francisco, but now at Michigan. You think if anyone would have picked him up, that those two, I guarantee, have each other's cell phone numbers and texting, and what do you think of him? What do you think of that? I guarantee you the text went like this. Hey, bro, what do you think about us picking up Colin? I wouldn't pick him up. It's nothing but a circus media with him protesting the national anthem. And do you really want a guy on your team that feels that he's oppressed by everything, by everyone? Thanks, bro. Gotta go. We gotta go sign the Arena League quarterback. And that's not a joke. The Baltimore Ravens signed an Arena League quarterback over Colin Kaepernick. And this is happening time in and time out with this guy. You think the NFL teams are not seeing that the NFL's games are not being as watched as they used to be? Well, yeah, the Federalist had a great article about this, that the polls are showing that the people that are protesting or not watching the NFL last season was because the national anthem was being protested. Well, yeah, because Americans are good. Americans love America. And if you come from another country, you're an immigrant, and you want to be here, you've done everything right, you love America. I have friends that are immigrants that have immigrated here. They love America. They think this is the greatest place on the planet. And it is the greatest place on the planet. America is good because Americans. Nothing else. And if you come here, you're not going to protest the national anthem about this great country when you're saying people are being oppressed. Colin, give me a break. You are not being oppressed. You live in the greatest country in the world, and you probably had the best health care in the world. You've had the best of the best. And you're protesting the darn national anthem and the flag? Give me a break. You disgust me. It's sickening. We might just have to start a LeVar Ball watch because he was in the news again this week. Twice. He's not only the big baller brand CEO and negotiator, I wouldn't even call agent for his Los Angeles Lakers son, Alonzo Ball, yeah, Zoe. He calls him Zoe. There's too many of them. LaMelo, LeVar, Lonzo, and then there's another one that's going to UCLA. Anyways, so he coaches Melo's AAU basketball. AAU, for you people that don't know, is a competitive basketball. It's one of the top, like, I would explain it as a division of competitive basketball. It's one of the top. And he had his team out on the court and got into arguments with the referees. And granted, one of the referees was a woman. And he wasn't happy how she was calling the game. And I saw some Instagram videos that he was just yelling at her for calling a bad game. And this was at one of the big-time Adidas tournaments. And he is just yelling and yelling and yelling at her. He gets teed up. He gets the team and tries to walk off the court. And granted, he had already done it one time earlier in the week again. And he had done it the week before. It seems like that is his solution, is get the team and walk off the court. Well, the Adidas personnel that were running the camp didn't let that happen. They bowed down to his feet, and they actually removed the referee. So I'm doing the hard work here on Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis. I am on LeVar Watch. From here on out, I'll give you some updates. Just Google the guy. Get on Instagram. Get on Twitter. The guy is a riot. We've got to take a break right now. I was hoping to get to what the Democrats are calling a better deal as their new economic plan. But I'll cover that and healthcare on the other side of the break. You're listening to Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Check out Lumberlax. This is a company started by an 11-year-old Kai Talley. He plays lacrosse, and the money that they profit off of the business, they use to help less fortunate kids that cannot play lacrosse. He partners with nonprofits to give money to kids that physically cannot play the game due to special needs or illness. This is an amazing thing that he is doing, and he is extremely involved in his community. Take a look at the website, lumberlax.com, or email them directly at lumberlax@comcast.net and order a custom shaft for yourself or someone else. They also do coaches gifts, team sticks. They work with people to do fundraisers and so much more. Please check out lumberlax.com, official sponsor of Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network. Welcome back to the program, folks. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Media Network with AJ Davis. And I am so excited to be here with you guys. Do me a favor. If you're listening to us on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or YouTube, go ahead and hit follow, subscribe. Help us out there. A lot of great content on the Lanterns Media Network. Also, check out lanterns.buzz, where you can find my podcast and other fantastic content. Follow us on Facebook at Lanterns or at AJ Davis Podcast. or you can follow us on Twitter at LanternsBuzz, or you can follow me at Oregon Redskin. I tweet out quite a bit, and I'm pretty active on the Facebook. So go ahead and do that. And I kind of have a little humor going right now, as while we were at break, I was listening to the Senate Democrats' cute little video they made on Twitter and tweeted it out about a better deal for America. Because that is the Democrats' plan right now, is after 7 years, oh, actually no, after the last 8 years, because Barack Obama was elected twice, of Democratic policies, they're saying that it's time for Americans to have a better deal. And 7 months after they've had the White House, they've had Congress for almost 8 years, they're saying it's time for Americans to... Some of these senators were saying people can't afford basic living. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't... Essentials and health care and one little thing and they're done. Well, the Affordable Care Act was a disaster. And more on that after we just touch a little bit on this a better deal. Hashtag a better deal. Man, that was all over the Twitterverse. And they have a plan, but they're not going to release it yet. They haven't released anything, but they're doing what typical politicians do. Just Paul Ryan did it. Whenever the Republicans took control of the House back, what was it, the 2014 midterms? I can't remember what his cute little plan was, but that's all the Democrats are doing, you know. We've been in control for the last 8 years, and 7 months into this term, we got to get a better deal because just, you know, the American people, they just can't afford anything. Well, no crap. Yeah, because the last 8 years of your, well, mostly 7, because that first year, you know, you're getting everything. But anyways, you guys have been in control. Your guy was at the White House signing executive order after executive order. Because remember, Barack Obama said he has a pen and a phone, and he will make it happen. But the Democrats have a jobs plan. 10 million jobs for Americans. That's what their plan is to create. And you know how they plan on creating it? By government force, not by less government, by more government. And they haven't even gave us the darn details. But some of the things they were saying, better jobs, better skills, better training. That's not the government's job. The government's job is to create a working environment, less intervention, less regulation as needed, and more just freedom. That's what you need. That's how you create jobs. The private sector is going to create jobs. But my suspicion is whenever they start rolling more stuff out, and I'm following it like a hawk. I will keep you guys up to date as I hear and follow of what they're releasing. But so far, it's just a dog and pony show. A dog and pony show. But while everyone's crying about the health care, they're crying about President Trump's tweets, the Democrats and the Republicans, they're both failures, in my opinion. I know why. That's all I have to say. I know why the Republicans could not repeal the Affordable Care Act. I know. They haven't had enough time. They just haven't had enough time. They've been on their heels fighting the Democrats the last 7 years. They've been on their heels the last 7 months because the Democrats control everything. Oh, wait, no, they don't. Sorry. You know why they couldn't repeal the Affordable Care Act? Even the skinny bill was because, one, there's two things. One, John McCain came back from his cancer surgery, and I don't want to talk ill will on that because it's not a joke. I have family members close that have had cancer, and millions of people have had it. But why would he come back? Because this was a very, very important vote. It was a show vote for everybody. And that gets me to the second part of why I think it didn't pass. First was John McCain. The second is power. Not a single one of them want to help you and I. Not a single one of those politicians give a rat's behind about you and I. Not a single one of them. I mean, Jeff Merkley was on, that's my senator, was on the news this week after they were up. Oh my gosh. The senators were up past 2 a.m. My gosh. How could it be? Because they didn't want people watching C-SPAN. That's exactly what it was. They can hide it because I know I'm not up at 2 a.m. I guarantee you, unless it's a kid crying or I cannot sleep. That's exactly what it is. Power, 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 power. So when you all woke up the next day, they can go, well, we tried to vote, but the Democrats they stopped us. You didn't hear any of that on Friday. You didn't hear any of that. It was a show. It always has been, and I think it always will. And there's a handful of senators that actually care about you and I. I think senators like Mike Lee, Ben Sass, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, those, and there's probably a few more, but those are the main ones that care and want to help repeal this individual mandate, the medical device tax, and the other. There's just so many more things that need to be repealed. It needs a full repeal. Screw the replace. Repeal and work on. Let the free market fix it. Let the free market fix it. They all want single payer. They all do. And I told you that last week. I've told you that 2 weeks ago. They do not care about any of us. I mean, all the Democrats were all over Twitter, the news. Republicans, the evil Republicans do not want to work with bipartisanship to help us pass common sense reforms. We need to fix the ACA. Let's improve it. Wait a minute. Check out Nancy Pelosi. Check out Nancy Pelosi with the Affordable Care Act. Listen to this.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it away from the fog of the controversy.
And they thought we forgot about that. That's the wonderful thing about technology. We get to keep everything. So, recount. We have to pass it to find out what's in it. But your Democratic colleagues in the Senate were crying that nobody wants to work with them. Hypocrisy. They are crazy. They literally are. They're crazy. No, they're not crazy. They live off of power, control. That's what it's all about. It is. They want to have socialized medicine. They want to have universal health care. Medicaid for all, Medicare for all, whatever they want to call it. But let me tell you, that's not the solution. Free market principles, free market will fix it all. Take the artificial lines away from each state. And I kind of like what Rand Paul has been talking about the last couple weeks, the last couple months actually, is create these pools where everybody gets grouped in together. I mean, There's so many possibilities. Oh, well, the Republicans are controlled by these insurance industries. Well, you guys are controlled by the unions. And quick note, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. But I mean, it's just mind-boggling when you question all of it. Everyone's, well, George Bush or you Republicans, like, whoa. Excuse me. I'm for freedom. I'm not for anything else. I'm not playing the Jersey game, buddy. I don't play the Jersey game. I'm sick of the Jersey game. But let me give you a little story of a friend dear to my heart. His mom was a Canadian. She is a Canadian citizen. His dad, both of them lived in Canada. He was born in America. I don't know how that exactly worked, but I know he's been down here for at least 30 years. His mom had to have a knee replacement. Went in, took however long, those wait lines in Canada, he had told me, are very long, very, very long. And this is a personal experience. He said his mom went in for knee surgery, came out of knee surgery, and she could tell something just was not right. And she brought it up to the doctor. Doctor dismissed it, went a couple days, and she kept complaining to the nurses, the doctor, something's just not right. So they take her over, x-ray her knee. They come back to her and say, oh shoot, you need to have surgery right now. Something had went wrong with the knee replacement. It had collapsed, something along those lines. So she had to go in for emergency surgery and have it done, redone, replace something along those lines. So she got that done. She came out, and she just wasn't feeling 100% again. And she kept telling them, something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. Come to find out, she got an infection in this knee replacement. And she ended up dying. Because I wouldn't say they were rationing. And my friend had tried and tried. He had God talking to him, telling him, you got to get your mom down here to the United States to get to the health care in the United States. Even our health care today is 1,000,000 times better than the socialized medicine in Canada, eh? And I always give him a hard time about that. I go, does everyone end their sentences with A? And he just looks at me and just shakes his head because he laughs. He has a good sense of humor. But we were talking last week about this whole situation, and he said he wouldn't take his dog to Canada to get health care. I mean, it was devastating to him. It still is devastating to him. I remember when everything went down, and he and I were talking on the phone, and there's an example for you, Bernie Sanders. Your family gets the best health care on the planet. So does yours, Elizabeth Warren. They're going off your plan. I guarantee you. Guarantee you. Congress has the best health care money can buy. But what about the little people like us? What about the little people like us? Oh, well, look at the VA. The VA is a disaster. And I give you a story from me. I had what would be described as like a cyst, like something growing on my body that I had to have removed while I was serving in the military. So I went in, did my pre-op. I'm on the operating bed. They're drugging me up, getting ready to lay me down because they're going to lay me on my stomach. And the joke's going into all the military. I mean, for all the 4.5 years I spent in the Navy, there was always jokes about, you're going to go in for surgery for, say, you're going to, for instance, get my cyst removed off my back or my rear end, wherever it was. You're going to come back with breast implants. you're going to come back with the sex change. It was just kind of a running joke that everybody did. So again, they're going to lay me down on the operating table. They dropped me, and I hit my eye and cut it on one of the metal. I don't know what it was, because I remember when this happened. They knew I was on medication that they had went to put me to sleep, and I felt it, and I'm telling you, I was knocked out. I hit it so hard it knocked out. So when I woke up from the surgery, I had some kind of patch over my eye. My wife was in the recovery room with me, and I could just feel pain, and I couldn't tell, and I'm going, first thing I did, I kid you not, I put my hands up to my chest and said, did I get breast implants? Did I get breast implants? No, thank goodness. And my wife is calming me down, and the nurse says, you fell. You cut your cornea. I'm like, I just went in to get a simple, easy surgery is what I was told, and I'm ended up with an eye injury at a VA hospital. So you tell me how good the VA hospital is. And we could talk every minute of every hour about the failures of the VA. And I hope President Trump is helping fix it. There's a lot of fixing that needs to be done. But you cannot model health care for the 320 million people off of a system that has not been successful. It has not covered not even close as many people as you would need to cover for 320 million people. It's a whole different ballgame. So, Republicans, Democrats, I'm giving you the thumbs down. I know this is radio, but I'm giving you the thumbs down. You both disgust me. It's all about power. You don't care about us. And we're going to have to take a break right here. Ooh, I'm way over. But thanks for listening right now. Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis on the Lanterns Media Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome back to the program, folks. Glad to have you here for segment number 3 on the Lanterns Media Network. So, one of the things that I wanted to finish the show with is 2 things. The transgenderism tweet that President Trump had sent out. And I don't want to really cover what the tweet said, or even the president, to be honest with you, because it appeared to be just a smokescreen, and I'm sure it was. But I wanted to, because everyone was talking about it, from Republicans, Democrats, and both parties full of progressives on each side. But one of the writers at lanterns.buzz wrote a great article about this, and really was, I can't take credit, and I don't want to butcher her name, Analige Sonnefeld. Please don't, I'm terrible with names, but it was a fantastic article. You have to go read it. I'll tweet out, Facebook out a link to this article, because it sums up everything that every single person not in the military should understand. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about the military. The military is a division, it's not a division, it's a branch inside our government that has to be ready at all times for war. And if any of you played sports or have done anything where people, you always hear the phrase, practice how you would play, or practice how you would do it. From radio to writing to playing baseball. That's what the military does on a continuous basis. Myself, who was a veteran, remembers boot camp like it was yesterday. Remembers my time out to sea in a war zone like it was yesterday. And I have a friend that has what he describes as a transgender or transitioning child. This child, he doesn't, from the conversations we had, I don't think he supports it. I think he's disappointed. He doesn't know what to do. He's a really good guy. He I pray for him a lot. But the child is about to go in front of the court to get the name changed. The child also had went to the shrink to ask for hormone pills. So my buddy, and his name will stay anonymous, went in to have a meeting with this shrink. Let me stand corrected. Either talked to the shrink on the phone or had a meeting. Either way, but I want to be correct. I don't want to fib, because to be honest with you, I couldn't remember exactly what he said. And he was having this conversation, and he detailed it to me as, I don't want my daughter, who's transitioning to a boy, to go 3 years down the road and be completely devastated, completely regretful of the situation that she is about to make by trying to take hormone pills. And the shrink agreed, because the shrink brought up how her friend was doing the same thing, same question, same everything. So it seemed to be a planned thing. And you know what? I don't care if you want to be a toaster. The military, as in the Lanterns.Buzz article, quote, the military is a privilege. It's not a right. And so when my friend and I were talking about this, the tweets from Donald came up, and we started bouncing things back and forth. And right away, you're probably going to prejudge and say, oh, well, he supports it 100% that transgender people can be in the military. We need them. My friend is a very common sense, reality-driven person, except for when some of his political beliefs, because he believes in that climate disruption, all that stuff. But you can actually have a real conversation with him. He completely agrees with the Don, the president. I respect office. I don't respect him or the past president, because they're progressive. They really are. But I will respect office. I apologize. So he agreed. He agreed with President Trump. He thinks that transgenders have no business being in the military. He also discussed the number one thing that every person at the sound of my voice should be listening to, should understand. The whole idea of the military is to be ready for war. You have to be ready for war. And being on an aircraft carrier and going out to sea, we can't supply every medication that any person would need. We don't have psychologists. We do not have unlimited medical equipment. We have the basics. And I'm sure the Army, the Air Force, the Marines have the same thing. You cannot deploy with every single thing in the world that you need, or what situation, and you can't get it next day FedEx. Like, probably the hospitals, and they probably don't send medication and equipment FedEx, but you get what I'm saying. Common sense tells you cannot, just from a military perspective. And you got me, who's more libertarian, conservative, and you have my friend who is more left-leaning. And I wouldn't say he's progressive because he's registered as an independent, and he hates the political parties just like I do. But he has a transitioning, I would say, child. And he is saying that the transgender people do not maybe the words not belong, but do not have a right to be in the military. Do not have a right. Because here's the first things that I thought of right off the beginning is, okay, what uniform are they going to wear? What standards are they going to take? And if they don't like something that's going their way, are they going to throw a hissy fit? Sorry, I mean, just from seeing videos on the Twitter and Facebook and the news reports are they going to throw a hissy fit? I don't like it this way. You cannot have that kind of disruption in the military. Everything is uniform for a reason, and everything has to, it's all about order. It really is. That's what they break you down in the beginning of boot camp, and they build you back up. To have order, to have, not control, but for you to be ready at a moment's notice. That's what we trained. I can guarantee you at boot camp and whenever I was in the Persian Gulf and we had the Iranian National Guard coming at us when we were transiting. See, I use it, transitioning. It's a funny, come on, laugh. When we were transiting the Straits of Hormuz, which is between Yemen and Iran, I was sitting on the radar, and the Iranian National Guard had their speedboats with 50 cal turrets coming as close up to us as possible. None of the guys or women that I worked with in the United States Navy were worrying about who they were that day or at all. We were worried. I wouldn't say worried. We were ready for war. We were ready. That's what the military does. You're ready for war. It's not a social experiment. It's not a fun time. Let's hang out and let's do this stuff. Okay? What if one of these transgender people had to have hormone therapy? And I understand not all of them have that, but for the ones that do, after President Obama had his little ban lifted, 10 people out of the military raised their hand and said they were transgender. And the estimates are between more than 10 and less than a couple thousand. To be honest with you, I don't care. When I served in the Navy, there was there was gay men that I knew, friends with, had no problem with. They never caused any disruption. They didn't ask for special favors. They were not treated any differently, and I respected them. But what this transgender stuff is, it causes a disruption. It causes headache for the military, because the military is not a right; it's a privilege. When I was at MEPS, which is military processing, there was many people that got sent home crying because they could not join because of tattoos, color blindness, heart issues. It's not about gender. It's about what you are going to bring to the military. And they're not going to let you just come in and cause a disruption. Here's another thing at boot camp. Here's another thing that you should think about. What the Navy told us is we have to take x-rays of your mouth. You have to go to the dentist, get x-rays. We need to see where your wisdom teeth are, because you can't be forward deployed, and have a wisdom tooth issue. They pulled all 4 of my wisdom teeth out and pulled every tooth in front of me out. I was out for the count for like a week and a half at boot camp. It wasn't a week and a half, about a week, and it was brutal. And they kept telling us, we take your teeth out, you take your wisdom teeth out, because when you get deployed, because everyone will get deployed, we do not want to have an issue with your mouth. We don't want to have an issue where you have to have wisdom teeth pulled out to see. We don't. So again, as the article at lanterns.buzz by one of my colleagues perfectly states, is it's not a right, it's not a privilege, and I, like I said, I will tweet it out. No one has a right to join the military. And there's a link in it to talk about how 41% of transgender people are suicidal. To a USA Today article. That's significant. And, that would be devastating to me, working with someone for so long, and then they go and kill themselves because someone said something about their gender. That would be harder on the sailors that had to deal with that, because people are good. People love one another. They really do. And that's how I want to end that topic, is people are good. Americans are good. People love people. Even if they say they don't. People want to be loved. People want to love. And that's kind of like where my church kind of went on Saturday. We have a thing called Serve MAC, which we serve the community of McMinnville, Oregon. There was 22 local sponsors that gave multiple different donations. We had 160 people working out of love, spreading the love of God, love of Jesus. We were doing free car washes. We went to old folks' homes to plant flowers with them. I was the point lead on one of the old folks' homes. It was a moment where God was working through us. And I think God works through me all the time. And sometimes the devil takes over. But that was just a truly amazing day, in my opinion. At the end of the day on Saturday, there was a movie in the park hosted by our church, where the sponsors had different baskets put together, and we gave them to two military families that were doing some rest and recovery. Both of them were on military leave. I mean, that's what America's about supporting our troops, supporting our community, and loving on people. So I want to take that moment to thank you, Pastor Tim English, for putting this together. It was fantastic, and next year I'm going to be part of planning it from the beginning. And I hope we can do a little more than once a year, where we can kind of do like the Labors of Love, where they do it a couple times a year. And love is the answer. Good night from Oregon. You're listening to Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis on the Lanterns Media Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.